Euromaxx highlights in this edition. On your bike, the Tweed run through the streets of London. At the fair, a German furniture designer at the Milan Trade Fair. In competition, the world's best amateur pianists in Paris. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karen Helmstedt.
Hi there, and welcome to our Highlights edition. Well, Germany's own Johann Sebastian Bach is widely considered to be one of the greatest composers of all time. Beethoven himself described him as the original father of harmony. And to this very day, the Bach style continues to influence musical composition and performance in every genre. But does every genre really include hip-hop? Well, world champion breakdancers say yes.
Breakdance meets classical music. Counterculture meets high culture. Flying Bach is an unusual musical experiment. The Berlin ensemble called Flying Steps is performing Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier in a production by Christoph Hagel. The show tells a story. A mysterious woman appears at the breakdancer's studio, and suddenly two worlds collide. Breakdance and classical dance, man and woman, desire and rejection in a play of contradictions. 2 weeks earlier, the Flying Steps were rehearsing in a dance school in Berlin. Each step and movement in the breakdance was carefully harmonized with the piano music.
In the second part of number 16, we need a few robot movements that have something to do with the basic theme. And then I can demonstrate that shift. The only way to demonstrate the shift is with a robot move.
Christoph Hagel is the ensemble's classical music expert.
It's a highly evolved form of breakdance and hip-hop. They also like dancing in small episodic units like an MTV video clip, a 2 or 3 minute format. And that's exactly the format of the Well-Tempered Clavier.
He had the idea of taking the different fugue voices and the interludes and completely taking the piece apart. He explained it to us. These are the high notes, these are the middle notes, and these are the low notes. He wanted every dancer to take one of the melodic lines, so the audience would feel they'd seen the math behind the piece, its construction. And that was fascinating for us. We thought, wow, this is really different.
The four-time breakdance world champion is normally more at home with hip-hop. Christoph Hagel, meanwhile, is most at home staging modern opera productions in unusual locations. In 2008, he staged Mozart's The Magic Flute in a Berlin subway station. With this project, the Flying Steps and Christoph Hagel have a shared goal.
This is one of the more serious attempts to join breakdance and high culture. I believe this is a real opportunity here to bring breakdance into the arts.
That's exactly what's happened now that the new National Gallery on Potsdamer Platz in Berlin is hosting the Flying Bach project. The Flying Steps juxtapose a classical dancer's performance and Baroque music with video installations and hip-hop beats. The audience responds with a standing ovation.
dancing this piece and bringing this positive emotion to the stage. We gave it our best and it was well received.
I have plenty of criticisms of myself, but I'm very happy to finally be on stage and that we managed this.
We had never performed for an audience before. We're pleased to have such a positive reception. It makes us very happy. We worked very hard for this, and so of course it's gratifying.
Featuring breakdance and classical music, Flying Bach shows that high culture and pop culture aren't such unusual bedfellows.
How about traditional culture? Tweed is a relatively coarse woven woolen fabric, and in the UK and Ireland, it's one of the oldest materials for traditional hunting and sporting wear. And while many find it stodgy, there is a faction that always finds it stylish. And these convened for the second annual Tweed Run in the British capital, where the only real rule is be sure to dress with a bit of panache.
These genuine-looking British ladies and gentlemen at the Tate Britain are not extras for a scene in the next Sherlock Holmes. It's this.
2, 1, 3.
For the second year in a row, Old English tradition has reconquered the streets of London. Modern times are merrily banished to the background as participants come together out of a shared love for classic bicycles.
It's 100 years old, and it was made in Birmingham. And they were the Rolls-Royce of bicycles.
Well, my family have always kind of dressed like this, because they're all getting on a bit, and I've kind of picked it up from there.
I think the fun is just really getting together with a group of friends and a group of other people and just enjoying two wheels. I think that's basically what it's all about. Enjoying the city, enjoying the sun, and enjoying the cycling. That's what I can say.
Yeah, but you could do this with like Lycra as well, so...
Don't tell anyone, but I've got Lycra on as well.
A few hours earlier, fashion photographer Guy Hills was still putting the final touches on his outfit. He's a tweed fan through and through and has begun including tweed in his designs. His label, Dashing Tweed, is modern, but he's not trying to go against tradition.
Any English gentleman would wear their smart suits for work, and then for any sport or pastime or hobby, they'd pretty much be dressed in a tweed suit. I mean, something like this would be very much, you'd see any Englishman partaking in any hunting, shooting, fishing, kind of basically a hobby. And cycling, along with kind of early days of motoring, was more of a hobby lifestyle. So they'd wear a smart tweed suit like this.
And while Guy is getting into the perfect outfit, a suit made of coarse wool from Scottish sheep, the little ones get to work cleaning the bike. At 10:30, the designer sets off for the meeting point. The 20-kilometre Tweed Run meanders past the city's prettiest spots.
It's been quite tricky going through London because they keep getting stopped and then we get divided into various packs, and it's a social occasion on wheels, so you end up just sort of pedalling along and chatting to them.
Of course, this being an English event, the day's agenda must include tea. After the first stage, they meet up in Kensington Gardens. The run does have its serious side. All proceeds go to an aid project in Africa. On to Savile Row, home of gentlemen's fine clothiers and a mecca for tweed fans. The employees of the renowned Huntsman are to judge the best-dressed competition. Demand for the rough wool suits has increased, even though a genuine Huntsman can set you back €5,000. So is this Tweed Run part of a trend?
There's a new interest in tweed and natural fibres and an old craft, and the craft involved with cycle making and tweed making has been very big in London at the moment.
This Tweed Run concludes where else? At a pub. But anyone who thinks the event draws only ivory tower eccentrics would be wrong.
There are tweed runs happening all around the world now. In America and Australia, I was reading about them. And it's not that there's any overall organisation, it's just everyone is interested in the whole movement. And it's just a good way of getting all the like-minded people together and summing up the whole movement. And then when everyone goes home, they've had a good day and they realise that they're not alone, you know, their values.
The 400 places for this Tweed Run were gone in a few hours.
Coming down,
It shows that the humble tweed is stepping out of the shadows and into the limelight once again. And even in 2010, tweed is more than socially acceptable. It's downright stylish.
Well, speaking of stylish, now we're now off to the Italian design capital Milan, where the Salone Internazionale del Mobile, or International Furniture Fair, is currently underway. This is the most important get-together in the industry, bringing together all the major design firms. And it turns out that German designers are particularly popular right now, both the traditional and the startups. And we met up with one of the newest talents from home, who's already a prize-winning designer.
4 days before the Milan Furniture Fair got underway, Sebastian Herkner was busy in his workshop in Frankfurt, putting the finishing touches to his designs before presenting them to the public. The Milan Fair is the highlight of the year for designers from around the world. Getting the right contacts in Milan can mean an international breakthrough.
It's been a while since I last slept through the night. It's always incredibly stressful trying to get everything finished in the run-up to the Milan Furniture Fair. You have to organize so much in addition to building the prototypes, transportation, and all the other things you don't see at the fair.
It's a huge deal for the 29-year-old designer. Last year, he achieved a major breakthrough with this table. A Spanish manufacturer discovered the design at the fair and is now producing it in Barcelona. The work later earned Sebastian the coveted Red Dot Design Award.
After the huge success we had last year, expectations are of course very high. You try to outdo your own success with the new products, and I hope that I'm able to do that.
Combining materials in unusual ways has been key to Sebastian's success. This lamp, for example, is made of glass, but the base was produced using felt. For this year's furniture fair, he's come up with another table, this time with an interchangeable tabletop. The base of the table is also unusual. It's made of aluminum.
I was inspired by the classic shape of traditional wine barrels that are built with individual strips of oak. I interpreted it here using single strips of aluminum that were lasered and beveled. They reflect that aesthetic.
The Milan Furniture Fair opened its doors on Wednesday, April 14th. Over 700 young designers are presenting their latest ideas here in the newcomer section. The competition is tough, and getting noticed isn't easy. Herkner has thought through every detail of his presentation.
For the product presentation here in Milan, we designed a very simple, unadorned stand, a little like a gallery or a museum. The lights stand on white pedestals, and we chose a very neutral wooden flooring in order to let the products speak for themselves, to highlight them and give them a very pure demeanor.
His ideas have paid off. There's lots of interest in his stand. The fair is all about networking. Getting contacts with manufacturers, dealers, and others in the industry is what counts. Sebastian's ideas go down well.
I would really like them, and I think they're very simple, and I think they work really well with the materials.
I like the shape, going from circular to rectangular. The transformation is interesting.
Color is very beautiful.
I love violet, so I'm like, and it's like 3 lamps, and then it's just one.
Weeks of hard work have finally paid off.
The response has been very good so far. You get very honest feedback from the visitors, and they understand my products and what I'm trying to achieve with them. So the conversations are very interesting.
Conversations that could lead to the fulfillment of his big dream.
Just to highlight it.
I've made a start through this appearance at the fair. The dream is, of course, to establish your own office and to design and work for good companies and to be successful at it.
Sebastian Herkner and his design creations at Europe's largest furniture fair. His name is one we'll doubtless be hearing more of in the future.
And so is British artist Kieran Williamson's, whose landscape paintings fetch impressive prices. And at the moment, people are queuing up to buy them faster than he can paint them. Obviously, a man whose work is in great demand, but amazingly enough, Kieran Williamson is nowhere near manhood yet. And that's because he's only 7 years old. We had to see it to believe it, and we watched him at work in the beautiful southern English countryside.
Kieran Williamson is getting ready to start an oil painting on the coast of southeastern England. He's currently painting mostly landscapes. And he knows exactly what he's doing.
I start off with the sky, then the background, then the foreground, then the midground, then the foreground. Now, so you can see on my picture, it's done that, and it's still got a lot of work to be done to it.
His dad, Keith, captures the moment on camera and starts looking for other motifs he can use later. Because when he's outdoors, Kieran doesn't always feel like painting.
Kieran likes to play in the mud and run around and look at sort of the things that are happening around him. And when he's dabbling in the mud, he's always looking. I mean, we can be down on the beach, so then all of a sudden, quick, I need the shot of this. You know, either he'll take the camera from me and go and do it, or gets us to do it.
Hi, Kieran.
Local artist Carol Pennington was the first person to tutor Kieran when he was just 5 years old. She taught him painting techniques, how to mix colours and how perspective works.
He's like a sponge. He absorbs everything that he's taught, and you don't have to tell him twice. It's in there. And he absolutely remembers it and then uses it appropriately, which a child finds it extremely difficult to do.
This is one of Kieran's first paintings as a 5-year-old. He quickly showed his talent and went on to take lessons from a local artist. Now he paints in watercolours, oils, and pastels. Kieran's paintings were first offered for sale at this gallery. Adrian Hill organised an exhibition last November, and it sold out in just under 15 minutes.
He's a young lad, he's really passionate about his painting, he loves his art, and he's an incredibly gifted little boy. So I think the whole Kieran package, if you like, is very, very desirable to the public, not just so because of the wonderful paintings, but other aspects too.
Kieran's other passion is soccer. When the 7-year-old isn't practicing or playing with his school team, he meets up with his friends in the park. His father is happy his son has other interests besides painting.
He needs a variety in life like everyone else, and, you know, the painting is what he chooses to do when he chooses to do it. Apart from that, he's happy to do his football, his cycling, watch motor racing, anything, you know, the same as any other normal child.
And like many other children, Kieran doesn't yet know what he wants to be when he grows up.
A really good artist or a top-class footballer. Well, I like art because it's relaxing, and I like football because it's fun when you get all the tackles in.
Kieran most loves to paint in the family kitchen. He's currently working with pastels, and it's a challenge to get the blending of the colours just right.
Trying to keep your colours clean as you can. And when you do a dark foreground and you blow up onto the sky, it's going to make your sky really dark.
The painting is finished in just over an hour. The next, Kieran Williamson.
Phenomenal. Well, from a child prodigy at the easel, we'll now finish off with a glimpse into what it's like to be a concert pianist. A passionate and exciting profession with thousands of hours of practice invested before that thrill of walking on stage. At the International Competition for Outstanding Amateur Pianists, some 100 people from 32 countries got to feel that thrill, and that number was reduced to a final of 6, which played out in the French capital.
Amateur pianists can make beautiful music. Last weekend was the final of the Amateur Pianists competition in Paris. In their regular lives, they're doctors, clerks, people with ordinary jobs. For them, the piano is just a hobby. For Loïc Lafontaine, it all began here. Night after night, he practiced in his tiny Paris apartment, which barely had enough room for his electric piano.
As amateurs, we don't need to do this. We want to do this. That's the difference. We do it for the pleasure it gives us.
But still, it's paid off. The 35-year-old is one of the 6 best, and he has advanced to the finals. In a few hours, the competition will start. Loïc goes to his last practice. He takes the subway to his job, where he works in Paris's Opera Quarter. He's fortunate to work as the boss's assistant at a piano rental. Today, he's allowed to practice on a concert ground. Across the street, also near the opera, is a hotel where another finalist is staying, Peter Hiss from Lübeck, Germany. He interrupts his practice to meet us and to be a tourist in Paris for a few moments. Peter Hiss works as an ophthalmologist, but today the eye doctor is focusing solely on his music. Even so, he sees a link to his job.
You have to make sure that you make as few mistakes as possible and that you finish the job. That's the case with operations, and in the first round of the competition, it was also like that.
Peter Hiss constantly alternates between his work and his great passion, music, whether it's classical or modern.
At music school, they quite rightly said to me, "You're taking up 2 coveted student spaces, medicine and music. Now you have to make a choice."
He chose medicine for practical reasons, but the music never let him go. There's one more practice session before the final. The hotel agrees to let the ophthalmologist play its piano. With just a few hours to go, how is he doing?
Well, I'm exhausted.
And he has stage fright, which is no wonder with this setting. The 6 finalists will get a rare chance to perform in the spotlight for hundreds of listeners and a tough jury. Dr. Hiss's big moment has arrived. Meanwhile, Loïc Lafontaine is getting ready backstage, waiting for his turn. So, how did it go for Peter?
Well, not that great. It's a weird feeling to play in front of 500 people. It was a full house.
After Loïc Lafontaine's performance, the jury huddles for 3 hours.
Okay, you know what? Lafontaine 5, Lafontaine 6, Lafontaine
In the end, a clear verdict. The French pianist takes home the prize of 3,000 euros. That's about $4,000. But the biggest payoff was the audience's applause.
And if you'd like to catch any of those reports again, don't forget that you can find them on YouTube. Just type in Deutsche Welle English, and that's all one word, and happy viewing. Well, that's all for our highlights edition. So until we meet again, all of the best and auf Wiedersehen.